All right, it's the Sunday after. This is going to be a relatively short video. I'll do a more in-depth look on Monday, or at least that's my plan. Wanted to come in here to correct a couple of mistakes I made in my live broadcast and also respond to some of the knee-jerk reactions that are relatively predictable. But this site is about looking more at why, looking closer at what happened, not knee-jerk reactions. So if that's what you're looking for, this is the place. If you want knee-jerk reactions, okay, well, you can find a place for those too. This is WVU football going deep, and going deep does mean looking deeper into things. Play on words, yeah, but now, oh, and I am Forrest Poston. Please subscribe, click the thumbs up, make comments, click subscribe, tell your friends, share all of that. Covering my mistakes. And with these, I said in the live post game that these were things you could see, and I was still wrong. On the interception when Greene was throwing to Taylor, I said it was a bad pass by Greene because he threw behind him. Nope. It was flat out, absolutely, totally pass interference. The announcer was talking about how, hey, there is no 5-yard limit in college, but the defender shoved Taylor in the back when the ball was in the air. I went through it frame by frame, more or less, as close as I could get. It was pass interference. I don't know if Taylor would have caught the pass, but he would not have been 2 yards past it. He at least would have had a chance to adjust his speed, reach back, or he might have been right on the spot. But the defender shoved him hard in the back. It was illegal. Should never have been missed. Neil Brown made it clear West Virginia had other opportunities they should have capitalized on and didn't. But some of these calls, and this is all season long, these are just not bad calls. These are unacceptably bad calls. There is no reason to miss a two-handed shove in the back in the open. It's not like there was a crowd. It was pass interference. It was blatant pass interference. It was obvious pass interference. And it was the official's job to see it and throw the flag. That was not on Greene. I was wrong about that. Now, the second interception, I said that it was just a good play by the Iowa State defense, and 6 inches higher, Greene would have had a completion, maybe a long completion. Coach Brown and Greene both say he should never have thrown that pass. It was not necessary to take the risk, and you did have basically one guy in front and one guy trailing behind. It's a tight window. So it was a high-risk pass at a time, didn't need to take the risk. So, if he completed it, everybody would have cheered it as a fantastic throw. But if they say he shouldn't have thrown it, and again, you've got the guy in front, guy behind, a type of double coverage. You shouldn't throw into it if you don't have to. I was wrong about that. All right. So one interception was Greene's fault, one wasn't. I got them reversed. But anyway, now also with Brandon Yates and the bad snaps and the injured hand. Neil Brown said in his post-game press conference, Yates had a hand injury, hand issue. Don't know exactly what it is, and people, it's like, oh crap, they knew about it and they still let him play, and rah rah rah. Well, if you pay attention to more than one sentence, Garrett Greene also said snaps were not an issue in practice all week. So whatever's wrong with the hand, it had not caused a problem for the coaches to worry about. And Greene also said that part of the responsibility was on him because he should have communicated better with Yates about the snaps. I don't know exactly what he means by that. Maybe that, he should have let Yates know, hey, we've got a snap issue. I don't know. And then it's like, some have said, well, he should have pulled Yates for Livingston early. One bad snap, you're like, okay, wait a minute, what, you're watching, you're checking. The second bad snap wasn't until the first one was on the first drive, and we still scored a touchdown. The next one was on the third drive. I think maybe we punted on that one. And then I think it was second half before we had they were coming in high. They weren't sharp snaps that you really want, but they were, snaps that weren't throwing off the play. Then he had two in the second half, one of which Greene turned into a 28-yard scramble. But they didn't keep happening consistently enough. You try to fix the problem. Coach Brown said Yates is their number one center. He's their best chance to win. Livingston did well against Oklahoma State in limited snaps. I think he played 12. Doesn't mean he's necessarily ready to come in and play a full half or three quarters. And Iowa State has a reputation for concealing their defense as well, making the calls for the center tough. Livingston, probably would have had a lot of trouble with that. Don't know, but you're betting that Yates can correct the problem and control it, which mostly he did. There were two plays, maybe three, that it disrupted and caused a loss. Now, that threw the offensive rhythm off, no denying that, but it's still, again, do you yank a guy because of it? I'm not going to say absolutely the way some people are without getting full information. Or without analyzing, the situation with what information we have. We don't know just how much the drop-off is. And I'm sure the coaches talked with Yates and, they were trying to work things out. Mostly, they worked things out. It wasn't good, but it wasn't the reason for losing the game. There were bad decisions. Also, people talking about, should have run more. Well, for one thing, the run wasn't really working well. If you just look at the straight stats, we actually had a pretty good, yard per average gain, and better than Iowa State, actually. But A whole bunch of that is because of Greene, 28 on the scramble. That was the longest run of the night. If you look at White and Donaldson, I haven't checked the numbers closely. They were mostly just getting 2 to 4 yards, occasionally 6 or 7. They weren't getting chunks. The run game was good enough the first drive, but it wasn't really good. The passing game was working better, especially over the middle. The crossing routes were, if anything was going to save the team, it was the passing game and crossing routes. But Iowa State made a couple of good plays that caused incompletions, one with Gallagher, one with Ray. Credit them. But overall, they were essentially 50-50 in the run-pass department. So, I mean, it was not like they threw a bunch more than they ran. And it skewed a little bit because they passed more at the end of the first and second half. Though they were still running the ball even then, but don't fall for some of the illusions. And don't read a one-sentence quote and think you know the story. And keep in mind that the media is real big on picking inflammatory quotes and not giving additional background. And sometimes it's intentional, sometimes it's just a space issue, or they write one story before they have all the information. But and of course, sometimes they include more information and readers just pull that one quote and overreact to it. The loss sucked. The team made too many mistakes. Too many of those mistakes were by the more experienced players who shouldn't be making the mistakes. I'll talk more about that in the longer analysis. But summarize, one of the interceptions was caused by blatant pass interference. One was a bad decision by Greene. Yates did have a hand issue, but it had not caused problems during the week. And, I mean, it was a limited number of bad snaps in the game. Were they at particularly bad times? Not necessarily, but they did put the team behind the chains 3 times, I think. But I'm not convinced that's enough to say you jerk Yates and put in Livingston in that situation. Okay, like I say, I will do a deeper analysis. There's a lot to look at. Statistically, the game was almost dead even. West Virginia won several categories, but a win only counts the score. Okay, guys. Thanks for those who watched this, and I'll be talking to you later. So long.